I couldn't help in the last 10 days but look at healthcare.gov. I could virtually assure you that was going to fail because the budget size. Any web service, any digital service that costs over $100 million, that is going to fail. There's just too much money at stake. There's too many partners. You know, all the recipes for failure are there. Large-scale outsourcing, many systems that don't work, false deadlines that drive poor decision-making. It's all there. We see this all the time. These issues are systemic. By understanding these issues and by rooting around them is how we've had the success that we have. So we think of these issues as the square of despair. And the square of despair is really the focus of the 5 points I want to make today. So let's just explain the square of despair. You will have recognized it's a rectangle. I get that. Okay. The first one of the 4 forces acting on government, on digital government, is money. I don't know about you, we have less of it. We have increasingly less of it. We've bought all the tech in the world, and yet our services haven't caught up with that. So recognizing that we have to do stuff more quickly and more cheaply. The second is unhappy users, end users, but also inside the system. We've now got 400,000 people who are generally pretty unhappy with the technology and the digital services that they themselves are using at work. The third one is security. I don't mean the Snowden type of security. I mean this pernicious view that security must come ahead of usability at all times. When I started in government, I was presented with a laptop, which required, I kid you not, 22 discrete pieces of information so I could work it. And as you've seen today, at that point I had a 1-month-old daughter. I couldn't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone 22 pieces of information. And when I did that, I couldn't send an email to all the staff. And why not? Because of security. We've just got to get usability ahead of security. And the final one, procurement in the room. Didn't expect to clap for that, but I know where to go back now next time. So here's the message. You won't win by tackling this head-on when you go to central government. I'm talking to Jen about this. I talked to everybody who had a similar la-di-da job like mine in central government. We had e-envoys and CIOs and this, that, and the other. And some of them were my friends. I went and talked to them and said, look, you went to government, it's the best one in the world. You didn't get done what you wanted to get done. Why was that? And they said, well, I tried to sort out procurement directly, but I lost because I didn't have enough lawyers. Or I sort of tried out security, but it's an unbalanced game because I can't see what they're playing with. I tried to sort out everyone's staff's IT, but we've got 26 different IT departments. Or I tried to sort out the money problem, but actually I run into ministerial issues. I run into the big IT suppliers. You can't win. You can't tackle these problems head on. You've got to root around them. So here's the 5 ways that we've had success, and we continue to have success in rooting around the problems. The first is a phrase that I'm sure everyone here has heard before, work on stuff that matters. I don't want to be flippant about that, but there's what matters and what really matters. When I started in the summer in the UK, we had riots on the street in the United Kingdom. This is not good. This is a profound challenge to democracy. So when we make a decision on what we're going to work on, we make sure we make services that matter a great deal to a lot of people, but also that are things that only government can do. One of the big questions we should ask ourselves when we all work in government or whatever level is, could someone else do this? Because we are a finite resource. Everyone in here, you are a very, very finite resource. So we must ask, could someone else do this? And if they can, give it to them. Because focusing only on the stuff that government can do and should do is where the win comes. This is a lasting power of attorney. In the UK and anywhere, if you're going through this process, you're probably going through this process at a time of life where you're having other things to deal with, elderly relatives, someone's died intestate, something like that. We made a digital service. This is it. And I'm going to show you this world-class technology that we made and how it works. You forgive the video for 30 seconds, it's worth watching.
This tool takes you through step by step. There's 10 or 11 sections you have to fill in. And in each case, you're given a very small bit of introduction and then the choices you have to make. The point with this is that when people are filling in the forms, they could be filling in maybe the same name and address 6 times over. But by entering these details, as we've done here, that gives them one set of details that we can then populate every single form with.
It's not rocket science, it's a simple web service. I can't tell you how hard that was because we had to take on HR, recruitment, skills, procurement to make a simple web service. But when we did, we found out something amazing happened. We got a call from the people that run the call centre at the Office of Public Guardian and said, oh, we've got a problem. You're going to have to add something for us now. We're like, what have we done? We created a service. Well, people are phoning up to say how much they like it. And We've never had that before. So could you add a positive feedback button to our interface? Which we did. It's amazing what happens when you do that. Colleagues come back with you and they want to work with you more and more. It's working on stuff that matters. Dealing with the enterprise, number 2. We've talked a lot about that today, but what does that really mean with? If you deal with the enterprise on the terms of the enterprise, again, you will lose. I cannot tell you how many lever arch files I've seen full of requirements documents. They take a long time to write. Heaven knows who writes them or reads them, and God knows how we manage to procure with them. But if you play on those terms, you lose. This is a little chart from Booz, which I'll show here. And again, apologies if you can't quite read that. The first line shows the amount of money we spend as a government on IT. So in the UK, we're pretty much near the end of the chart. The 2 countries, by the way, that spend most are Switzerland and Sweden. Don't know about Sweden, I think it's a counting thing, but on Switzerland, pretty sure because it includes the cost of a particle accelerator, which, is quite an expensive bit of IT. So you could say they're an outlier. Now, what Booz did is they mapped that spend on the outcome of the digital services. And in the UK, you can see that despite spending nearly as much as any other country, we're getting such a low return on that spend. So you can't spend any more money on IT when you get these jobs. People in government say, what's your budget? I've got a £1 billion budget. We've done the whole thing with less than £70 million. That's the whole thing. The operating costs, the infrastructure costs for Gov UK are £2.1 million. In the UK, that doesn't even get us into the frame for having to tender that amount of money. You can do this so cheaply that competing on the terms of the enterprise means that you lose. That's the amount of money that the group I've worked in, the Efficiency and Reform Group, have taken out of the government spending system in the last year. That's about 4% of the GDP in the UK. And one of the ways we've done this, we have to do many different things, is by getting people in. This is the Silicon Roundabout. I bet Matt wish he never said that now. This is a part of East London where there's a cluster of tech firms. And one of the interesting things about the UK is we've managed to spend over 80% of our IT spending on, I think, 7 or 8 companies. Our parliament call that an oligopoly. And yet, less than a mile from our offices in central government, we have one of the most vibrant and dynamic clusters of technology and digital companies in the world. And yet we've managed to make them feel that they're excluded from the creation of digital services. That is insane. I think Eric Gunderson summed it up quite nicely last week about healthcare.gov. If lessons like this aren't learned, if we don't see the need for procurement reform after this, we are genuinely in trouble. So one of the best things we've done, I think, is a digital service framework. We've now got dozens, hopefully hundreds of these companies on a framework, and we can draw down and get them into the government system. 3, start recruiting now. This is our office, what it looks like. We're inside government. One cannot be too revolutionary inside government when you get the chance, but you need some insignia. Skull and crossbones is a bit dramatic, but there's nothing wrong with a bit of bunting or a bit of cake. So get these people in. Hire the very finest minds in digital and then dress them in onesies. That would be my As I launch Gov UK, Etienne Pollard on the right, Jamie on the left, and won't thank me for this. But have some fun while you're doing it. Insist on Hawaiian shirts. Absolutely. De rigueur. Make sure your insignia is good. Our organizing principle is design. These design assets resonate right across the government system. And have lots of cake. That was our 100-day cake. And make sure there's stickers. By the way, I left some stickers from the reception outside because you can't beat a few stickers for your laptop. These all seem like trivial things, but actually going against the type, going against the grain, making sure that it's a bit of fun, bringing this generation in is utterly crucial. We started that literally on day 1 when we started. This is a very modest slide, but it shows me with my head in my hands about a month ago looking at finally getting my hands on the architecture diagram for our motoring division. Yes, that is what that thing is. I actually know how that works now. It's astonishing. But the hard reforms have got to be started straight away because some of the stuff that we know and that you have as well is that our infrastructure actually doesn't belong to us anymore. 15 years ago, 18 years ago, we did something quite, I think, foolish in the UK. We tried to outsource risk. We tried to outsource risk by giving massive SI contracts out, saying, actually, you deliver these services back to us. And guess what? The idea that government outsourcing risk is crazy, because who picks up the bill at the end of the day? Who's responsible for healthcare.gov? It's your government. You can't outsource this stuff. So we're now in a position of actually have to reform our services without quite knowing how many of them work. So starting those reforms straight away are important. This is a picture of a big red truck. I am fully aware of that. And it's full of mail. And this big red truck, and ones like it, take paper to our motoring division twice a day. The entire building is built to receive paper. One of the problems with that is that recently, a few years ago, one of our biggest leasing companies in the UK, fleet leasing companies, moved offices. And the V5, the piece of paper that every car, every vehicle has in the UK, had to be updated with the address of that headquarter. And yes, we did spend money on sending 500,000 documents to the place where they were rekeyed and a new piece of paper was issued. You could move one field in a database table. Who knew? But we paid that amount of money. These reforms are urgent and they need starting on right away, which is what we've been doing. And the final thing is delivery. You have to deliver at all times. The critical thing in government, and particularly in central government, the one thing that you have in your armament that nobody else has in government is the ability to deliver, and deliver often, because that is kryptonite to most people in government. It's the one thing that you just cannot get done. So there are the 5 things that we've done in the UK, and we think that it's a model. We think there's some lessons there for everybody. And particularly if you get the chance, if you're working at city level, you will take some of these issues right now. You will know these issues at a relatively small level. They're the same issues, they just get bigger. So get used to dealing with them now, get really good at them now, and get used to some friction, because dealing with them takes on some very, very big interest straight away. If I'd say one thing about Code for America is that you're all lovely. That's great. It's great being lovely. Wait till you're the bad guy, because you really have got quite a lot of that to come when you step up to the enterprise level and central government. And the good thing is, it's not complicated. It's just really, really hard, as Michael Slaby said. So the final point from me is it always helps to have political backing. I don't mean public service backing, I mean the top level of politics. I'm going to show you a video right now. This is Francis Moore, the Minister for Cabinet Office, speaking in Parliament. And these words, I never thought I'd hear a political appointee say in my lifetime.
Of the Government Digital Service, which is committed to ensuring that as we reform the delivery of public services, they are designed around the needs of the user, rather than has been far too often the case in the past, being designed to suit the convenience of the government.
Gary Streeter, Mr. Speaker.
I'm glad you applauded that, because that does require applause, and to have that level of political leadership from a politician, to have been relentless on this agenda, has given us the cover that we've needed. So why are we doing all this? I said at the start, democracy faces profound pressures. I have the fortune to go around the world talking to some other governments, and we're all facing similar pressures, and we shouldn't forget that. It's a big thing at play here. And that's really because we face an existential threat in government. All of us are civil servants and public servants of one sort or another. And the threat we face is that the government can become irrelevant. Because if we don't deliver what users need, they'll just root around us in a digital world. And we need to reconnect. We need to make government look like this. This is the Reichstag building in Germany. It's transparency. It's government as it should be. You can see right through it, and you can see what policymakers are doing. And we have an opportunity to do that and remake digital government. Because digital services are not an end of themselves, they're an opportunity to do just that, and to remake government. It's not about changing government websites, it's about changing government. And that's why we're here, and that's why I support you fully, and I want to challenge you. If you ever get the chance to step up, and if you ever get to do this at enterprise level, or even if you're doing it at city level, don't walk away from those big challenges, and think about the square of despair. Don't tackle them head on, and root around them. And if you do that, it will be difficult, you'll have some wins and you'll have some losses. But from over the water, you'll get a special gift for us. We'll send you some cake.